Today on Free Field Training, we're going to talk about very light EDC items, and not only the things that they allow you to do. So often on the internet, we have people talking about the things that this extra light EDC item allows me to do without carrying all sorts of stuff, but what you give up when you go to ultra light EDC items. Some of these items have been sent to me, and some of these items I have bought myself. All of them are pretty good at the tasks that they were designed for, but I think very often people see checklist items on a spreadsheet and they think, oh, I can use that for the same thing I use a Leatherman Wave for, and I can use this for the same thing that I use my J-frame revolver for, and I can use this for the same thing that I use a lighter for, and that is not entirely true. We give things up when we go this small. My classic example of this is with books of matches. Matches will start fire. And if you need the absolute lightest thing to start fire with, an old-fashioned book of matches is one of the best ways to do it. And as an added bonus, you hear people say, you can write on your book of matches. It's like having a little notepad with you at all times if you get a nice, just white book of matches. Well, that's true, but they're not even remotely waterproof. You're better off with a lighter. Well, Tommy, lighters aren't completely waterproof. Yeah, but they're way better than this thing. If it's even mildly humid outside, it's hard to light these things. You end up having to use the entire book just to get flame. Where with a lighter, unless it's really, really wet, it makes fire. It's a no-brainer. Why are we making lives more difficult than they have to be? And the lighter really doesn't weigh. Does the lighter really weigh a lot more than a book of matches? Relatively, maybe it weighs 50% more, but it's still almost nothing in the grand scheme of things. And this is a classic example of what I'm talking about. People see, oh, it's so much lighter, and they don't realize that they're weighing, the change in ammunition in their EDC gun is far more of a difference than the difference in weight between the lighter and the matches. And this brings so much more capability to the table than a book of matches does. I often see combination items. People talk about, oh, this is a pen slash flashlight slash self-defense tool, when in fact, it's a heavy pen. That's what these tactical pens end up being. It's a heavy pen. It's either a heavy pen with a knife in it, or it's a heavy pen with a flashlight in it, or it's just a heavy pen. I've never, ever seen anyone use one of these in a self-defense incident. I have seen many of them get taken away from people at security checkpoints, and I've only occasionally seen someone actually use it as a pen. In this case, this pen is also a flashlight, and the flashlight is about as effective as the flashlight on your phone and about as easy to get out. There is no real good throw at all to this light. It's basically just like the light that you would have on your phone, which you're probably also carrying anyway. It's not nearly as effective as the light on a single AA battery flashlight, which has a little bit of throw and a good corona around the outside and has a nice tactile feeling on the end and several modes that are easy to get to even when the light is on. And it's a single AA flashlight. Also, if you go to just about any bank where you happen to do your banking at and you ask them for a pen, generally speaking, they're more than happy to give you a nice little clicky pen. And if you're lucky and you go to a bank like my Chase Bank here, you'll get one that's also a stylus, so you can use it on the computer at work if that's your thing. Or you can use it with your phone or with your tablet. You get a stylus and a pen. So this is a more multi-function thing than this. And also, these together weigh less than this thing does. And that's what I found with most tactical pens out there on the market. When you get into really small lights, we have these little keychain lights, which are marginally effective as a flashlight. The advantage of this particular one is that it's rechargeable, and it does have a little bit of beam throw. The problem is you also give up all of those little tactile feeling things for a keychain, and realistically, it's not as useful as a light because the light itself is hard to get out of a pocket. If you attach it to your keychain and this is jangling around in your pocket, you're going to be fiddling around trying to find the light when this could just be clipped somewhere where you're going to find it, and it's large enough to get a purchase on and actually use for your application. Try putting this in your mouth and holding onto it while looking at something under your car hood. This is a lot easier to do that with, and it's a lot grippier. It's a lot easier to keep a hold of. And I mean, if you are that person that thinks you're actually going to use these things in a self-defense situation, you could use them as a pressure point tool. Well, this is a lot more useful than this thing ever will be. And an actual flashlight won't overheat nearly as fast as these little tiny lights. When you look at these, the outputs are very similar, but if you put this in your mouth to repair something under the hood of your car, it's going to get so hot you won't be able to keep it in your mouth within seconds. Whereas this will just keep running and running and running and running at that output. Before we get into multi-tools, we need to talk about handguns a little bit. I know this is what a lot of people come to these types of videos for, and what I'd like to talk about is everybody talks ad nauseum about caliber and the size of the gun and how light it is and how thick it is and the holster options for the guns, and I could talk about that all day. But one thing you need to know about when you get really, really small with handguns is you're not just giving up reliability from the caliber, but companies tend to cut corners on reliability on the actual gun. And my classic example of this is the Beretta 21A. When you go actually palm size with a 22 caliber gun, what you end up giving up is the ability of this thing to extract the rounds itself manually. So with a Beretta 21A, you put the mag in and you load it by dropping a round in the chamber here and closing it up. It doesn't operate like a Browning tilting barrel operation. It's a straight blowback gun, and part of the straight blowback operation is it doesn't have an extractor. It has an ejector, but not an extractor. So when the gun goes off, the cartridge expands, the bullet flies out, and then the cartridge pressure is supposed to push back on the slide, and that opens the action and it kicks the casing out. The problem is if you get a round that is not completely charged or doesn't go off perfectly, what ends up happening is you end up with the casing stuck inside the gun and no ability to get it out, because if you cycle the slide back on this thing, you can see there's no extractor. So the casing stays in there. You then have to pop the barrel open and get the casing out, which if this is going off in any way, shape, or form, it's going to be stuck in there, and we're going to be prying at it with our pocket knife to get the casing out. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem like a really good time when I'm in the middle of getting shot at. So it's something to keep in mind with these little tiny pocket pistols. See not only what the pocket pistol gives you, but what you give up in the pocket pistol. And that's one that should be a major concern of anybody that's going to use something for legitimate self-defense. And that's on top of the cartridge size, the little tiny sights, the little tiny grip, the lack of availability of holsters. It's on top of all of that is that if you have any type of problem with this gun, instead of going with a 22 caliber revolver that is about this size, which if one of the cartridges misfires, you just pull the trigger again, you've got something that now you're trying to like take apart and fix in the field, and that's never a fun time for anybody. When we get down to ultra small knives, I have some recommendations for you. Get a knife that you can carry absolutely everywhere. That's a big legal concern for me living and working in the Chicagoland area. Not necessarily legal in certain aspects. If you're a follower of the channel, you know why I don't worry about the super legality of the pocket knives that I'm carrying around. However, having one that meets all of the qualifications of the area you live in makes a lot of sense, regardless of your legal status, because the thing doesn't attract attention. And one of the greatest ways to not attract attention when carrying a knife is to carry one that is eminently reasonable that people look at and they don't even question. It doesn't look like much of a weapon. This one is from Kershaw. It's a pretty reputable manufacturer, although I'm sure this is an overseas produced version. I think the steel on this is a 8CR13 MOV. It's not a bad steel. It keeps its edge pretty well, and again, I want a knife that's either keeps its edge really, really well or is extremely easy to sharpen. The great advantage with a small knife is that you don't attract attention to yourself while it still maintains all of that type of EDC function. What you give up with this is any real self-defense ability for people that aren't extraordinarily skilled with knives, which guess what? You're probably not if you're watching a YouTube video about knife EDC. A lot of these small knives retain the ability to be used for other functions because they're trying to sell you on the other function type of thing. This one has the two things that I use most on it, and that is a bottle or cap lifter, and also it's got a small flathead screwdriver on the end. The flathead screwdriver on the end I don't ever use as a flathead screwdriver, but I do use to open boxes all the time. So I can pull this out and slide it down the top of a box and open it up without attracting the attention of even opening a knife. And that is a big advantage for me. With little tiny knives, again, you give up any self-defense capability at all you might have, and you give up the ability to use it for larger cutting tasks. I definitely wouldn't want to baton wood with this, so if I was living in a very rural area, this would be ridiculously small for me to carry around if I was going to use my knife for those types of tasks every day. When we talk about multi-tools, one of the common problems with multi-tools is that people see multi-tools and they are very prone, when talking about extremely small multi-tools, to looking at the spreadsheet and doing a little spreadsheet thinking. Being, well, I need scissors, and I need a knife, and I need a flathead screwdriver, and I need tweezers, and this one has all of that, so I'm going to use that multi-tool. And they don't realize that the scissors on this multi-tool might be of adequate size, but the knife is going to be tiny. Tiny, tiny knife. And extremely hard to sharpen because you've got all these other things in the way. And your tweezers are going to be attached to the end of the multi-tool, and these little tiny, hard to use and not very precise tips on the tweezers. I'm not saying that this particular multi-tool, this little Leatherman Micra, is a bad multi-tool. If you need scissors every day, if you work in an office and you want to have scissors on you, these are pretty good scissors to be able to keep in your pocket and also have this other stuff. But don't think that you're going to actually get a knife out of this. This isn't actually a knife. I mean, this barely would qualify in the 90s to the TSA as a knife to even look at and check. Similarly, when you have little tiny multi-tools like this Gerber Dime, and they are pliers based, people say that it's got pliers, and it's got a cap lifter, and it's got a knife, and it's got all sorts of stuff on it, and what they don't realize is that your flathead screwdriver is itty-bitty. And hey, this little flathead screwdriver, this is also, hold on, we gotta zoom in real good here so you can see it. It's also the file. Now, what are you going to file with that? I've got calluses bigger than this file. That's actually kind of silly. What you get when you get things like this is you're going to get one fairly useful item and then a bunch of junk that you're not going to be able to use. Of all of my small, little, tiny multi-tools, the Gerber Dime is my favorite because the pliers can work as a way to pick little things up. I can strip wires with them, and I can force little tiny screws that have heads on them to work even when I can't get a screwdriver in there anymore. It works fairly well for purpose. It's fairly light. The cap lifter, again, is pretty useful, and the things that are on it are fairly effective. But you need to understand that this is not something you're putting in a bug out bag, and this is not the equal of something like a Leatherman Wave that has a legit set of pliers and could also be a legit pocket knife, and also isn't that much heavier or larger than this, especially if you're throwing it in a coat pocket. Sometimes we have to think about whether the weight that we're saving makes sense for the job that we want the thing we're going to be carrying around to do. So overall, is this supposed to explain to you why you should carry heavier things? No, not really. If you're going to be kicking around the back 40 with a .22 pistol and you're going to put a suppressor on it and you want easy to shoot, cheap ammunition, and because of that you're going to carry this gun all the time because that's all you're doing is kicking around the back few acres on your property and then going to the store every once in a while, and you're just going to throw it in a pocket holster and rock it in a pair of cargo shorts, then go for it. I've been pretty happy with my Beretta 21A. If all you're going to do is light cigarettes with it, and the matches are free when you go pick the cigarettes up, then yeah, the matches are free when you go pick the cigarettes up. But don't complain when it rains. If all you're doing is working in an office, or you're working around your house, or you're going into the city and you need a very small thing to travel with that isn't going to garner a lot of attention, small multi-tools, small pocket knife, it gives us a lot of stuff. If you don't carry a cell phone around every day, and you just want a little tiny light in order to do tasks, look underneath a seat or something like that, and you don't want it to intrude into your daily life, these little tiny rechargeable button lights can be just fine. The tactical pen, those are garbage. Never mind those. Those are garbage. We're not saying nice things about the tactical pen, but all of this other stuff can function for you if you're realistic about how they actually function and what you can actually get out of them. But I want you to know up front what the limitations of these things are. If you have comments or questions about this, I would love to hear about them down below. I'm sure there's lots of people that have already commented and questioned and things like that without getting all the way through the video. And those people are awesome because that's what drives engagement. When you comment on videos, whether it's positive or negative, that drives engagement and gets more people watching the videos, which I absolutely love. So go down there, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and give me a comment or question down below so that way I know how much you guys love or hate this type of content. Till next week, you guys be safe. Take care of each other. Hey, thanks for watching Free Field Training on YouTube. And while you're here, why don't you check out some of these other goofy videos that I've made? Or you could subscribe or maybe go over to Patreon and see how you get your name put on the videos like these fine folks over here. All the links are, of course, down in the description. We'll see you guys next time.